Today I intend doing chapter number 9, project human resource management, but I would like to cover few more areas alongside it because they are very similar to each other and they are closely related. Project communication management and project stakeholder management. I will try to take on all three of them one by one, and I hope that we will be able to cover all three of them, or if not, then we can extend it to one more day. But as far as human resource management is concerned, we are dealing with the people we are going to be using in our project and how to deal with them, how to get them on board, how to train them and get them to work, manage them. So this is all done in human resource management. In planning, we develop a comprehensive human resource management plan which describes how we are going to acquire the team, later develop it, and ultimately manage this team. You must notice here that getting the job out of the team or appointing the team on a job is not the responsibility of HR. As soon as the people are developed to do their job, they know their job, the team is put on task, and then it is the responsibility of the project manager to get as per schedule whatever the task has been assigned to them. They would be following that from the project management plan. The HR person would just be managing them. So he would take care that all the team members are available, their needs are fulfilled, they are working, and they are reporting. So all of this is to be done while they are doing it, but as such, there is no separate process which is actually executing the work they are doing, because that process is already encapsulated into integration, and the process was direct and manage project work. So project work was being done there, and this is the team which is going to work. We prepare the team, we acquire the team, we prepare them to start the work, and then we put them on the job, and then we manage this team. All these three steps, 9.2 to 9.4, acquire, develop, and manage, does happen only in execution. Because as we said earlier, human resources are intelligent and they cannot be controlled. They are not things, they are human resources. Therefore, they have to be managed, and they can only be managed when they are doing their job. So while they are in execution, while they are doing what they were supposed to be doing, we are managing them. There is no control as far as human resource is concerned. So human resource management includes the processes that organize, manage, and lead the project team. The project team is comprised of people with assigned roles and responsibilities for completing the project. So here what is important for us is that each member of the team who joins the team must be assigned a role and a responsibility. So those roles and responsibilities must be described, because we just don't want to have people who are not having any defined roles and responsibilities, and they're just, consuming the resources of the project. We don't want that. We only want to do that work which is necessary to meet the project objectives. So as we have seen in scope, that first we establish the product scope, what to make, and then we establish the project scope, how to make. And now we have the team who will make it, and that team should be required on those jobs. If anyone who is not required, who doesn't have a role or a responsibility, that person should not be there in the project team. Project team members may have varied skill sets as per the requirement. They may be working full-time or part-time, and they may be, added at any time to the project, or may be removed at any time from the team as the project progresses. And that is not some, due to performance we are doing this only. This we are doing, maybe that person is no more required on project. So as soon as he completes his job, that person is put off the list of the team members. Or yes, of course, if somebody's performance is not up to the mark and that needs to be changed, then probably that resource may go home. So we will all that dealing with the project team members will actually happen during the execution in the manage project team process. Project team members may also be referred as the project staff. The involvement of all team members in project planning and decision making is beneficial. Now, why so? This is a very intricate point, very important point. As probably I have mentioned earlier, all the planning is not to be done by project manager alone. Project manager has to have support of his team. So as early as he can, he must involve as many team members which are necessary for planning and decision making purposes. When he involves his team, it's not only their expert judgment and their wisdom he is going to be using in his plans. Project manager will also benefit by getting the buy-in of these team members. All those who have been involved with us during the planning will have a stake into the project, and they will never like to sabotage the whole purpose of it. That is exactly the reason why we say that even we should take along stakeholders. We must get a buy-in from the stakeholders, do assign them some roles and responsibilities also. So when we were studying the team members and the stakeholders, we did identify a number of stakeholders. So team member is kind of more close team to you as a project manager, because you will be dealing with them directly all the time while the work is being done. But at the same time, you are also, on the other hand, looking at the various stakeholders. And by the way, these project team members are also included in that list of stakeholders. Participation of team members during planning adds their expertise to the process and strengthens their commitment to the project. They are involved, and whatever decisions we take during planning, that is a mutual decision making, and therefore they cannot say that they did not know why and how these decisions were taken. They had been the part of it, therefore they are equally responsible. Once we are trying to manage or lead a team, this is a very important job where you not only employ your management skills but a lot of leadership skills also. You need to get the job done from these people, and that would require a lot of influencing, coaching, and maybe sometimes coaching also. Project manager needs to be aware of and influence human resource factors that may impact the project. So, what can he do to influence the people? Naturally, we need to provide them an environment in which they can work. So, first of all, provide them a suitable team environment in which whatever work they are supposed to be doing, they should feel comfortable. Not only the overall environment, but the team environment itself, how people interact with each other. They should not be strangers to each other. If at all they are, you must provide them sufficient time to understand each other, each other's skills and authority and position levels, as if they can perform the best when the job starts. Geographic factors sometimes matter a lot, because sometimes your team is scarcely distributed and people are geographically apart. So, how can you be more effective when you are geographically apart? That is by itself a hindrance. But with modern technology, like you see, the communications, the next point, we can bridge this gap through teleconferences, video conferences, Skype, and other social medias. Internal and external politics, that has to also be managed in a way that should not negatively impact or influence the project team. The If at all there is some kind of politics, that should be only for the betterment of the project, not for personal benefits. Cultural issues must be taken into account. If somebody really needs to have some time to pray for and something, you should accommodate that. If people are from multicultural environments, then their needs and requirements must be catered accordingly. Organizational uniqueness, and there could be many other factors. On top of it all is the professional and ethical behavior. People who are working on project, right from the top, the project manager himself till the lowest member of the team, they all should act professionally, and they must act ethically. So human resource management naturally is one of the plans of the project management plan. It is part of the project management plan, and it is responsible for identifying and documenting all the project roles and responsibilities, all the required skills, whatever is to be reported. There must be a relationship, who is going to report what to whom, and creating a staffing management plan, who is going to be available when and for how long. The key benefit of this process is that it establishes the project roles and responsibilities clearly. Everybody must know their role and responsibility, and also the time when they have to perform that job. Project organizational charts should be clear, and the staffing management plan, as I described earlier, including the detailed timetable for staff acquisition and release. When should we be starting the hiring of the staff or bringing them on board, and when should we get rid of them? So the first process, which is planning, human resource plan, is developed here. Here we need the project management plan, because whatever human resource planning we are going to do is going to be according to the project management plan guidelines. We definitely have already calculated the activity resource requirements, which we did in the time management knowledge area. When we were estimating the durations, we also estimating the resources. So these resources, out of these resources, we are going to be concerned here about the human resource only. The human resource, we will have properly describe their organizational structure, their hierarchical responsibility, their position descriptions, their roles and responsibilities, all that only related to the human resource. And naturally, we will have the enterprise management factor and organizational process assets. A very important tool of this human resource management plan development is networking. You must be able to network with each and every one in your team, understand them, and give them a comfort. Then you should have knowledge of organizational theory, organizational behavior, how people act and react. Trust me, organization is a kind of a living organism which is built up or made up of your team members, of the people who are part of the team or the organization. And naturally, they have got their own, you know, the crowd has got its own mind. You might have heard about the crowd mentality. Crowd mentality, as probably I mentioned earlier, crowd mentality is something which is ill disciplined, but it could be, you know, so much effective that none of the members of a crowd may be able to do a certain thing. But when they are in a crowd, the crowd will do anything. So they kind of create an undisciplined synergy, which is sometimes really very dangerous. They may kill a person together and nobody is there to blame. Nobody will take the responsibility of killing that person. So, crowd is a big power because this does not have discipline. What if we can trap this discipline, this energy of this crowd into a disciplined organization? Normally, in organizations, organizations are also made of people, but these people are governed by some principles, some discipline, and once the same resource which otherwise could have been a crowd is put into this disciplined framework, then we can take advantage of the synergy which is engineered and doctored in the right way, and this is how you deal with them. So, organizational theory, knowledge on organizational theory is to be well understood. Then you use expert judgment, conduct the meetings, and ultimately be able to develop a resource management plan. What are the things from project management plan which may be of use for you in human resource management? Naturally, you identified the project life cycle and the processes that will be applied for each phase. So naturally, once you are deciding the human resources, you will take that into account for assigning them the roles and responsibilities. You have to take into account the project objectives, the change management plan, the configuration management plan, and how the integrity of the project baselines are to be maintained, needs and methods of communication among the stakeholders, and so on and so forth. In techniques, you would observe that we would have organizational charts and position descriptions. Like you see, the WBS we used to have, we have studied for the organization. These are the charts, organizational charts, are organizational breakdown charts, which are developed specifically for the project. What is the hierarchy within the project? What is the hierarchy within the project? Who is responsible to whom? Who has what responsibilities and what roles in this project? So, what kind of the organizational structure we are dealing with? Is it a hierarchical structure, deep hierarchical, metric, strong, balanced, or weak, or it is a projectized structure? Whatever the structure is of the organization, project project's organization will be impacted by that. So this could be the example of the three major documents here. One is the organizational chart itself, which should show the PM on top and all other roles under him, divided just like our organizational structure. Then we have already studied, we can develop a responsibility assignment matrix. And a responsibility assignment matrix can define exactly who is assigned to what activity. So that defines the role of that person in that activity. But here still one thing is missing, and that is how can we assign various responsibilities in this chart? So the answer is yes. It is not only the responsibility uh, uh, assignment matrix it is called, but it is also going to take care of the roles, the various roles each one of the team members would be playing in that team. I'll talk more about it. Lastly, for each individual, we must provide him in writing what are his roles and responsibilities. This could be the job description or the role description. There could be a format for that. You could follow that. And in a discipline mechanism, you must have these things properly documented. This is the example of a responsibility assignment matrix showing more than responsibility. This specific chart is called RACI, RACI. R stands for responsible, A stands for accountable, C stands for consult, and I stand for inform. So the various people within an organization, within a project, would have any one of these roles assigned to him. If there are five people who are actually made responsible for a task, then someone out of them must be accountable. Someone out of them must be responsible for day to day activities. And there may be people who may need to be consulted. We will have two-way communication with them, but consultation means only consultation. We are not bound to agree with the consultant. We take opinion of the consultant, and then the decision lies with the project manager, whomsoever is seeking the advice. So it is a two-way communication, but the person providing the consultation is not the boss, and he does not impose that decision on you. This is the decision of the project manager, how he wants to do it. And last is I. I stands for inform. This is kind of a carbon copy that you want to keep certain people in loop. Just want to send them information, and they will get a copy of this document. So whatever document we are talking about, if some people are to be informed, you can simply write I in front of their name, because they do not have any other role or responsibility except for this. So we do have these people responsible, but people carrying different roles could be indicated with these alphabet R, A, C, and I. But this is just one way of doing it. There are many other ways. There are at least 7 or 8 different methods of creating this kind of matrix, and you can show more than this. Maybe you want to, if it is kind of a project which is more concerned about quality, you want to assign a quality responsibility of quality to be handled by one of the team members. Maybe you decide to put a Q. So these alphabets are showing the roles, whereas if on the cross section of our activity there is a person required, we can just simply provide a tick mark there. That would be enough to show the responsibility. But if we want to show the role of that person, probably we need to have the role assigned and an alphabet written there, like A, R, I, or C, or any other methodology you can come up with, or which is in vogue otherwise in other schools of thoughts. So that you could apply any one of those methods. Now, there is one question which normally people ask here. They think that the person responsible must be the person accountable. The responsibility and accountability is generally considered to be held by the same person. What is your opinion on this?
I still think the same thing, sir. Accountability, responsibility तो एक ही बंदा होगा.
जी then?
The one who is responsible, he is accountable. Accountable maybe boss हो सकता है.
Yes.
लेकिन
So generally this is what is thought, and this is somehow correct also. But there is another opinion. Anyone who can talk about that? Ji Atif? Why
Yes,
on
sir,
this
I'm listening to
chart it
you.
has shown a separate person as accountable and a separate person as responsible?
Sir, responsible is the person, I think, the one who is actually uh, uh, taking the responsibility of a work, and he is directing his people to have the job done. While the boss of that particular person is accountable because he's given the authority to have the task done.
Okay. So Adil Sahab, what do you say?
So the same thing holds true. The boss needs to be accountable to some task, but the point remains the one who is responsible, he is also accountable.
Okay, fine. But if the heads have to roll, whose head should roll? The boss or the employee?
Boss.
Right. So the person whose head will roll, he's accountable, or you can say he's more accountable.
Yes, he is more accountable. Right? ये तो बात ठीक है.
Yes. So I tend to agree with the deal that the person who is responsible may also hold some accountability, and the person who is accountable may also be responsible to some level. But you see, it should not be that a single person is accountable and responsible and everybody else is enjoying. Actually, the person who is the boss, who is ordering that thing to be done, is actually accountable for that. Anything which goes wrong, he will be held responsible. The heads will start rolling from there. And he is also responsible, I do agree, but he delegates the responsibility to his subordinate and make him responsible for day-to-day working of the project. This is a person who is a project manager. The sponsor is accountable. The project manager is responsible. Now, it does not mean that sponsor has no more any responsibility. No, up to some extent, a little bit responsibility he keeps with himself of, maybe kind of monitoring or doing something like that. But otherwise, the day-to-day running of the project is responsibility of the project manager. As far as accountability is concerned, the main share of accountability is held by the sponsor. Project manager, yes, of course, if he does something wrong, we can fine him. But you see, how much can you penalize him? He may not, be able to fulfill the loss he has done. You see, you put project manager on a project which is worth millions of dollars. Do you pay this project manager millions of dollars? You don't. If a loss occurs, will he be able to pay you back that money? Impossible. So, though he is responsible, but he is not accountable, you may penalize him up to some extent. That would be nothing as compared to the loss. But actually, the sponsor was supposed to keep an eye on what the project manager was doing, and therefore he is held accountable. So, just like this, we can have for every activity a separate person who is more accountable and a separate person who is more responsible for that job. And although we generally agree that a same person can have some level of accountability and some level of responsibility, but we do also understand that either one of these things would be dominating. And the dominating thing is written here: the person shown accountable is more accountable. So as far as the create charter is concerned, Anne is the accountable person and Ben is the responsible person. So that probably means that Anne is sponsored and she has issued the charter to Ben, who is the project manager. And Carlos, Dina, and Ed might be some stakeholders or some team members, whomsoever was available. They are just to be informed that this charter has been issued. They may not have any decision power, they may not have any authority, nothing. But a single person has to be accountable, and a single person or more than one person could be responsible. Collect requirements. Now, Ben, the project manager, he is accountable, and one of the team members, Carlos, is actually responsible for doing that activity. While the Ben is giving this responsibility to Carlos, he has informed Anne, who was the sponsor of the project. And while this job is being done, Dina and Ed may be consulted. We don't take orders from them, but we may consult them. So their consultation we will take it into account, but it is not mandatory for us to act upon their advice. Submit change request. This time again accountable is Ben, but the responsibility he has given to two different people, Carlos and Dina, and similarly Ed would be consulting and Anne would be the person be informed. Take yet another example of the last activity, develop test plan. In this, Anne is accountable and Ed is responsible, while Ben is to be consulted and Carlos Dina has to be kept informed. So you see, this is the simplest way, but we can have a very complicated diagram based on your project, and these roles are not sufficient. You may introduce more roles, or you can create your own mechanism. But this is internationally renowned mechanism in HR discipline, RACI, responsible, accountable, consult, and inform. I actually wrote an article on this very aspect a while ago. I don't remember where it is, but if at all I find, I can share it with you. I had explored on all the various methods of creating these kinds of matrices. So this is a RACI, and there are about 8-9 other methods with RASCI and so on and so forth. But anyways, that is just the matter of assigning a different kind of role, and that could be tailorable or customizable according to your project. Then networking, organizational theory, expert judgment. These all are the tools, and then we conduct meetings, and ultimately the human resource management plan should describe in detail the roles and responsibilities. What is the role? What are the authority? What is the responsibility? What should be the competency for each and every uh, position we are going to be using in the project? Then project organization chart must be provided, and staffing annual plan would show the schedule on which these resources are supposed to be available to do specific jobs. So your staffing annual plan would tell you the procedure for staff acquisition, when they will be available, how and when they will be released from the project. There is any training needs that must be assessed and intimated. Any recognition and reward, how to reward or recognize your team members. That procedure must also be used. The compliance, that is, how do you check how well these people are working, and ultimately safety. Safety of people, especially in construction projects, you might have seen people are using helmets and goggles and other things like that. So these kind of things are to be specified in the staffing management plan. So each one of these things have to be properly planned. We have already talked about the different kinds of organizational structures. In functional organization, which is although not very suitable for running projects, but in functional organizations, all the people in a department are specialized in that specific area or function. So this is a group of specialists. If there is a finance department, all of these guys in finance department are experts in finance. They are educated in finance, and they have experience in finance. So they all are similar discipline experts. In functional organization, these specialists do exist very conveniently, but if there is something to do with one department talking to another department, people cannot officially be made answerable to another department. Generally, the channel they follow is through the proper channel, that is, through their boss, they will communicate with the other department. So in this way, we find that in a functional organization, you will face certain barriers if you want to communicate horizontally. Therefore, this is not really very suitable mechanism for projects do not need only one specialization. They may need people from different departments coming for the project. So the horizontal information flow, if that is not really very comfortable in an organization, that will hinder the progress of the project. And lastly, in a functional organization, the whole emphasis is on the function. A finance person coming from finance department is basically more loyal to the finance department than the project, because he knows the person who is going to write his report is the finance manager and so on and so forth. So he doesn't have any affiliations with the project. In our organizational structure, no matter it is a weak matrix or a strong matrix or a balanced matrix, we do find one thing common, that in a matrix organization, a single person may be reporting to more than one bosses. Individuals from functional areas are assigned on temporary basis to project manager, and once they have done their job, they go back to their parent department. Individuals return ultimately to the functional organization, and here very careful planning and procedures need to minimize effect of dual reporting. So if a person has got two bosses, then probably he might be reporting the same thing to two bosses. And if you are on the project, your functional boss, when you go back to the functional boss, he may ask you, what have you done there, what was the progress and all that. So this is not really required, but there is a tendency that if you are working in a matrix organization, your boss is going to get certain things from you which are duplication of the reporting. There are advantages with a matrix organization and there are some disadvantages also. In a matrix organization, the objectives are highly visible. We can efficiently utilize the same resource by two bosses. There is a better coordination because the specialist is the boss and he is getting the job done from a subordinate, and that subordinate might also be answering to another boss, and that boss would be coordinating his aspects or his portion of work. This provides you a better information flow, and naturally the biggest advantage in a matrix structure is that once the job is done, these people go back to their parent departments. The disadvantages are that naturally the mere fact that we were enjoying was that we were more economically and efficiently using the resources, but as soon as you put two bosses on top of one person, you make the things a bit difficult. It is a complex structure to understand and control. Then there might be tug of war going on between the PM and FM. They both might be pulling those resources towards their benefit. There might be duplication of effort and there might be some conflict which must be resolved. In a projectized organization, naturally there is all the disadvantages of functional organization are not there. But trust me, projectized organization is very much like a functional organization. Although this does not have the functional departments, but in place of the functional departments, we have the project managers. So these people who are assigned to a projectized organization are assigned on a permanent basis. They are full-time available with that boss. And from all practical purposes, this is kind of a function, but not for the purpose of functioning or facilitating, but it is basically for the purpose of meeting the objectives of the project. Then there are two types of extreme management styles, although there are more than 5 management styles, but I will just talk about the two extremes. The one extreme is the autocratic style. Autocratic style is that there is one boss and he is in command, he doesn't listen to anyone. Whatever he says is done. He is the only decision maker and he is the only knowledgeable person. Rest others' opinion do not matter. The strength of this system is that this is a very old and tested system. This is mature, and this is for the well-defined projects. And because only one person has to make all the decisions, therefore decision making is quick in this case. The weakness of this is because you are not asking opinion of anyone, and you are not even catering what the other people are saying. You are not even listening to it. So staff buy-in will not be there, and people might have low morale because they are not themselves interested or aligned with the project itself. And there is one possibility, though there was quick decision making as an advantage, but when the big boss knows and understands that there is no one who can challenge him, then probably there is a likelihood that he would start making arbitrary decisions. I told you earlier that vision, we did talk a little about it. The vision is normally thought to be created by the senior management. Although this might be right up to some extent, but basically this is not all. We have to collect opinion from other people, and based on that we should make our decisions. So it should be sane decision making, not abrupt or arbitrary decision making. The other extreme is laissez-faire, in which people uh, are themselves charged and energetic about doing things. If it is a project, then every member of this team of laissez-faire style would be efficient, effective, and they would be self-motivated. So this kind of project is only done in case of innovation, innovative project, research and development project, where the scope is not very clear. In this case, the advantage of this is that we have high morale of self-motivated staff, because whole of the staff wants to get the job done, and therefore all of them are putting in their efforts in that direction, and ultimately that impacts the baseline. The weakness of this management style is that there might be some confusion about the objectives of the project, and decision making is difficult. A little about Maslow's hierarchy theory. I hope you might have studied it somewhere in your life. If you have done an MBA or any management training, probably everyone might be knowing what is Maslow hierarchy theory. Maslow says that every person in your organization has some needs. And why is he working for you? Because you had some needs also as an organization. So you hired him for those roles and responsibility, and in return, you must fulfill his requirements. Now, it is not a fixed fee kind of a thing. Maybe different people have different objectives and targets. So we are going to be creative about it, and we have to keep a track of all what is happening. The lowest level of this hierarchy, Maslow's hierarchy table, is the basic needs, that what we also call the animal instinct. If I am hungry, I can even kill someone and eat him. Naturally, it is not a common happening, but when you are in a tough spot, then you have limited options available. If you have seen the movie by the name of Alive, how many of you have seen Alive? Alive.
ये सर टॉम हैंक्स की जो है
नहीं, टॉम हैंक वाली नहीं है. Alive was a movie which is about a plane which crashed in some remote snowbound area, and some of the people survived. And
ओह यस 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 याद
yeah,
आ गई
exactly. So that is where you can easily and clearly see the physiological needs. The people all had come from good background, but they were forced to eat their own dear and dear ones. Their flesh they used to cut and eat just to survive. So that is the animal instinct. Although we are intelligent beings, but up to some extent, after when the biological factor it is activated, then you don't care about anything. You may have to kill other person to eat him and have something in your belly. So the basic needs which are necessary for the biological maintenance of the person, like food, water, whatever, even sometimes sleep also is part of it. If your physiological needs are fulfilled, if you get enough food, the next thing you need to have is safety and security. You see, you are well fed, you have eaten the food, you are in a jungle, you have eaten the food, and now you want to relax. This is also your basic need. You want to relax, but you want shelter from sun because sun is too harsh. So you go under a tree and hide yourself under the tree from the bright rays of the sun. This is what? This is safety. This is just one example of safety. If you are threatened by some wild animal, you will even have some more protection. You may like to go into a cave and have your own privacy where not everyone can interfere. In case you are still afraid that some bear or something will come into the cave and disturb you, you install a big stone in front of the cave as if to protect you, give you more security. That is exactly the reason why we have doors, why we have houses, why we have locks. So this is your safety need. And the interesting part of this is applicable to anyone and everyone. I'm not talking about when you are in a very bad spot. I'm not talking about when you are poor. Even if you are rich, even if you're amply fed, you need security. You see, these politicians, how much security they want all the time. Their need is different, but basically, this is the need for security. They don't want to get killed, so they have a large entog of cars and everything, and security forces all around them. So basically, this is the second basic need: safety. And once your these needs have been, you know, fulfilled, the next thing you would like to have is to fulfillment of your social needs. Social needs is, you want to talk to people, you want to, make friends, you want to love, you want to get married, all this social circle. And even if you are a married person, you would like to visit other friends and, socialize with them and all that. Maybe parties, maybe going to the market and everything. So every level, your social aspect will also be there. Your social needs will also be there. So if you keep your wife, bound to the house and you never go out, then she will get bored and she will let you know that she needs to dine out, or socialize, or meet some relatives or other people, or friends. So this is basically there is a need for socializing. If you do not socialize, you can even go mad. These three are called lower order needs. After the fulfillment of these lower order needs, then you have the higher order needs. This is when you have self-esteem which kicks in. Self-esteem is why these people do not respect me, why they do not salute me. I am better than them. I am senior to them. So till yesterday you were looking for friends. You did not have a social circle and you were looking for friends. Today Amongst your friends, you are categorizing them as the one better than you or a lower than you. You want to have a status in your office. You want to be promoted. You want to be treated better than others. You want others to respect you. This is your self-esteem. The top level on the pyramid of this Maslow hierarchy is the self-actualization. Here, you have complete fulfillment. You do not have any need for any payment for the service you are giving. You are just, you just want to educate others, to give your advice to others. We generally call free advice. So this is the level of self-actualization. Normally, the old people who are very senior in an organization, no matter at what rank and position they exist, but they become, wise guys. They will always tell the juniors how to behave, how to do certain jobs, and this and that is all their experience speaking. Now, just look at the other side of it. When somebody is having that kind of experience and he's trying to advise you, normally people don't like it. Why? Because they want to experience the things firsthand. They don't want to apply the second-hand knowledge. And they all are adamant to reinvent the wheel. Now, this you have to decide for yourself whether you want to reinvent the wheel or you want to take some advantage from these people who are there to advise you all the time. So this is the hierarchy, and as I said, this hierarchy could exist at any level. If the example of the movie Castaway, in which it was FedEx, one of the owners of the FedEx, was going on a meeting to attend a meeting on its normal mail delivery plane, and that plane crashes right in the middle of the sea. There were no survivals, and this is the only person who lives. This is the story of that one person that is acted by Tom Hanks. Now, this is a very good example of this Maslow theory because Tom Hanks, when he got hungry, what he does, he goes for eating everything and anything. Initially, he eats up live frogs and fish and all that. Later on, when he is a bit settled, he starts, somehow burning a little fire, making a fire, and trying to somehow cook the things. So you see, that was the physiological need. Initially, when he was too much angry, he could not have thought of even cooking it. He was just eating it up because he was thinking that he would die. When he got a bit comfortable with the environment, he started experimenting. He tried to cook and things like that. Then, once those needs were satisfied, his tummy was filled and he had some kind of clothes on or whatever you want to call it, maybe some leaves of trees or whatever. So, the next thing was safety. Then he got into a cave and he installed a big stone on outside of it as to ward off the wild animals. And then came the need for social. For social, he did not have another human being around him. So, anyone who can tell me what he did?
He used a football actually to put on a stick, and he just made a face on to socialize with that football throughout.
Exactly.
A kind of a ball. I mean,
Yeah. You see, this is how it is. The need for the social need is so high, so huge that you can't live without it. You will go mad. So he created a being, an imaginary being in shape of that football, and he used to talk to it. That reminds me of a story of a Jew professor in the times of Hitler. He was in concentration camp, And I don't know how long, but it was too long. Something like years he was in that prison in one small cell, a black cell. And when he got out, when war was over and people were rescued, when he got out, he was as healthy and fresh as ever. Everybody else in other cells were not, very well, they had lost their mind or something. But this person was as fresh as anything. People asked him, how did he survive all that? How did his mind did not affect and all that? He said on the very first day when I was in there, I was actually taking a class in the university from where they had picked me up. And since then, I did not break the routine. I used to wake up early in the morning as I was going to a university. I would emulate all those steps. I would lecture my students, imaginary students in the cell. I would do exercise. I will do everything as I was in my normal life. And I don't know how all this time has passed. And his mind was fresh, his everything was fresh. So this is how you fulfill your social needs and your basic needs. Now the next step, as we see, is the self-esteem, and this is very commonly seen normally in any organization, in offices. When you give promotion to someone, you inflate his self-esteem, you fulfill some of his needs and requirements. And ultimately, the people who get old or who are more wise, they start advising others. They do not have anything, their need is that people should listen to them. That's it. So this is the Maslow hierarchy theory. Now, relating it to the organization, I would say that your need and my need, if you are one person and I am another person, I have some needs, you have some needs, and I know that you can fulfill my need, then I should fulfill your need. So this is a simple barter system. So you must understand that in organizations, companies have their needs and people have their needs. People fulfill organizations' needs and organizations fulfill people's needs. So it should not be one size fits all. As a good HR manager, you must understand the needs and requirements of each and every employee and try to reward him accordingly. You see, if some very poor worker employee in your organization who is fighting with hunger and all that, his family is not well off and all, but he is working very well in the organization, and at the end of the day you give him a medal. You have performed, you are the employee of the year, and you give him a certificate or a medal. So what will he do with that? That is not his need. He is hungry, he needs to feed his family, and you are just giving him a piece of paper or a medal. So you might have seen that many people, after having received the gold medal, immediately sell it off just because that was not their need. I have actually personally seen something which I myself could not imagine. Whenever you get a certificate from somewhere, that is a great honor, and we usually frame it and put it on walls and all that. So we have great respect for that achievement. Once I was in attending the PMI leadership training in America, and the instructor asked us to create something representing your culture. So, we were given some cardboard sheets and scissors and all that, and we all had to create something. The lady sitting next to me, she was also trying to create something. When we speak on a topic in PMI in the Congress, we are issued with a certificate, which is again a great honor. So she had also spoken there, and she received a certificate. What I saw was she was cutting that certificate into pieces. I said, "What the hell are you doing?" Why are you cutting your certificate? And she just looked up at me and did not answer. And she was trying to make something out of that certificate into that object she was making. Actually, she had cut it and she had placed various parts of that certificate into that ornament or whatever thing she was making. So for her, it was more important to make that thing more impressive, and certificate was not her need. Probably she was a regular speaker and she had got a lot many certificates like that. So you see, everybody has got different needs. We must understand their need and accordingly fulfill their needs. That will make them more productive and they will be able to better serve your organizational needs. So this is why HR or the people managing the people must deal with these people more intricately. Then we have yet another theory, and that is by McGregor. And McGregor says uh, in two theories, theory X and theory Y are directly in conflict with each other, but they are about the people. Theory X is more autocratic in nature. It says um, it's a top-down view of the management, and it says if you look from top, all the people under the are under the control of the manager. Manager should, get the job done. The workers will never like to work. They are inherently self-centered and lazy. They will try to dodge it off, and it is just the use of some strict rules that you can get this job done. So inherently, workers do not want to work. That is the theory, and you have to use force to push them towards the work. This is theory X. And this theory X might be true in certain cases, especially when we are dealing with very structured projects where the people who are doing the work are not supposed to be knowing what they are doing and they are just supposed to use their expertise on the spot. The person on top actually has that whole vision. He defines what to do and how to do, what to fit where, and rest everybody is a labor. And laborers are generally considered not to have any mind. They are just supposed to do what they have been told. So this is the oldest theory and this has always worked. But this imagines that people do not need any motivation and people are to be pushed. Theory Y is exactly opposite of this. This says that, and this is a bottom-up kind of a theory, people are eager to accept responsibility. They are willing and eager to accept responsibility. They want to work. Work is as important to them as eating, drinking, sleeping, and all. So they want to work. You just have to provide them the right environment to work in, and they can do wonders. And this is also true. So both of these theories might be true, but the fact is that you will find your organization somewhere in between theory X and theory Y. But one thing we have learned from this theory is motivation. If we can provide enough motivation, we can get any job done. So first we must understand the need of the people and then provide them appropriate motivation and we can reap the benefits out of it. Now there is another person by the name of Herzberg who came out with a motivation theory and he actually mixed up the McGregor and the previous one, Maslow's theory. He said there are two types of needs. One are the hygiene needs and other are the motivators. If the hygiene needs are fulfilled, the employee may work all right, but performance can be improved. He can be a bit motivated also. His motivation is increased. But hygiene need is considered by default by every employee to be his right. And if you do not provide him the hygiene needs, he will not work. And even if he is not working, he expects all those benefits to be given to him, because that he assumes as his right. So the basic needs, like in the Maslow's theory, like eat food and water and drink and sleep and security and safety, these are those things which are in the hygiene. So that as a human being, you think as an intelligent being, I should not die, I should get my food, I should get my health benefits and everything. So by default, if you are an employee, these are your basic needs, and if they are not fulfilled, your performance will be affected greatly. But this is not such a great motivator. If all of these facilities are provided, you are not going to do wonders. For that you have to go for the higher order needs, and those will become the motivators. More you provide, self-esteem, better status, self-actualization, these things are provided to a person, his motivation is grossly increased. If you want your people to do wonders, provide them motivators. But naturally, motivators can only be provided after the hygiene factors have been fulfilled. Coming back to our main topic, acquire project team. This is our second process after creating the human resource management plan. This is done during execution. When that specific task is to be started, the team must be available. To make the team available, naturally this process has to start a while earlier than the actual work starts, because the process of acquiring the team will also take some time, and then we also need some time to put the team together and provide them opportunity to understand each other. So the first step is to acquire the team, and the key benefit is the outlining and guiding the team selection and responsibility. How to select, what to select. So this all has been defined in human resource management plan and the staffing management plan, but this is actually happening in execution. So we need to have the human resource management plan, we need to have the enterprise environmental factors and process assets. What we can do is we can pre-assign the job to them. We can, this is while we are selecting them, we can, negotiate the salaries with them, we can acquire them, we can put them in virtual teams and see how they perform. We can, grade them on a multi-criteria decision analysis, where we can give certain points to their various characteristics and then compare the results with all the applicants, and ultimately we would have the project staff mobilized. They will be assigned the responsibilities. The resource calendars will become available as soon as the staff becomes available, and the project management plan can be updated accordingly. Once we have done that, okay, there's a few things here. Let me, as far as the negotiation is concerned, staff assignments are negotiated on many projects. For example, project management team may need to negotiate with the functional managers, other project team members, or the external organizations. So these kind of negotiations are to be done when we are acquiring the staff. Then we have multi-criteria decision analysis, which I just talked about. This is when I am interviewing the candidates, I would see who would be available in that time span, how much will he cost me, what is his experience, what is his ability, how much knowledge he has, how much skills, his attitude towards work, and any international factors if he is coming from another country or something. So all these things I can give different weightage to these items and then allocate those marks to each candidate and ultimately see who is the winner. Then once we have all the team members hired, then we need to put them together as if they can actually create some team dynamics. What happens is that every team goes through a cycle of 5 steps. First, the team is formed. The 5 steps are forming, storming, norming, performing, and adjourning. So we have already formed the team, and now we have to go through the stage of storming first. Storming is when you put this team together, they try to understand each other, they fight it out amongst themselves to establish authority or whatever, and to establish who got what skill and what kind of a person each one is. When they understand each other, that is the time they enter into the third stage, which is called norming. Meaning what? They are now normalized. They have understood each other. They have recognized the place where each person is standing, and they have accepted it as such. So, forming, storming, and norming, these 3 steps must be finished by this developed project team. That means the team has been developed. Moreover, in this developed project team, we not only manage the interaction of these team members and all that, but we also do the training need assessment. Maybe I hired a person for doing a specific job, but he needs to be trained in a specific aspect which we need to do in the project, which he might not have any knowledge or experience. So we may provide him some training during this period. This is the time to develop the team. Here again, the human resource management plan, the staff which had been assigned and resource calendar is available, these are used as input, and then I will be not a project manager here, I will become a manager. I'll use all the interpersonal skills, talking with them, discussing with them, negotiating, conflict resolutions, and all that, providing them trainings, team building activities, as if they can properly establish their team dynamics, they can form, storm and normalize. I will establish certain ground rules which are ethical or not ethical, which are allowed or not allowed in this work environment. I'll try my level best to co-locate these people who are from the same team, if possible. I will establish, we have already designed the recognition and reward system in our human resource management plan, but here that plan has to be rehashed and that has to be used. And then we will assess these people as if they are ready to start the work. As a result, a team performance assessment is there, and this is the first time we see that enterprise environmental factors are being updated. So enterprise environmental factors, meaning what? The culture of the organization will be affected by this process. Once we have developed the team, the next step would be to manage the team. Manage the team is the process of confirming human resource availability, that they are available for work, and obtaining the team necessary to complete the project. So make it available. Key benefit is outlining and guiding the team selection and responsibility. Ultimately, we have the human resource management plan as an input. Team have been assigned. Team performance has been assessed. Issue log is also input into it. If there is any issue, that would be recorded in the issue log. And remember, from monitoring and control, the process monitor and control project work, which was receiving the work performance information from all the controls, had created a work performance report. That work performance report is an important input here in managed project team. This input we will see, and that will tell us the project performance appraisal, that which are the jobs which have been done good or bad, and based on that appraisal we will be able to deal with the staff, with the people who are working. So in execution, from monitoring and control we get this report, and based on this report we behave in whatever manner with our team. We may be giving them rewards, maybe giving them some, maybe firing someone, hiring someone, or whatever. We will be observing and conversing with the team as well. But this project performance appraisal based on the work performance report is extremely important, because based on that, we will create the change request if required. If there is any conflicts, I'll apply the conflict management techniques, interpersonal skills as I've been using it in the earlier process. So if there is a change, if I need to, the work has been, has not been done right, and maybe I have to hire another person or whatever. So whatever is the change in the scope, time and cost, if it is there, then we'll move a change request. Project management plan will be updated, project documents will be updated, enterprise environmental factor again will be affected, and organizational process assets may also be updated. Now some conflict management techniques. In resolving the conflict, we have to, somehow decide in a way that we are in the win-win situation. Both the parties in conflict must feel that they have won. So we have a number of strategies, a number of techniques, basically 5. One is the withdraw oblique avoid. One of the parties withdraws from their standpoint, or they avoid the conflict. This is not the best option. This is a lose option. The one who is withdrawing is losing without giving any fight. Though this is one of the strategies, but this is not the best strategy. Next is smoothing or accommodating. You are trying to be very accommodative. You are trying to, accommodate the point of the opponent and accommodating and, leaving the ground open for them. Withdrawing means that you are not even facing your competitor. In smoothing, you go talk to your competitor, but you are being very accommodative. You agree to whatever they say. You are very facilitating. Looks like the best approach, but is the worst approach. Again, second worst than the withdraw, because here also you are not the winner. Third is the compromise or reconcile. Some points are agreed from your side and some points are agreed from their side. So basically both of the parties may feel like that they have won some and lost some, and this partial win is on the both sides, partial win, partial lose on the both side is the result of this compromise. Compromise is again not the best solution. We should do something in which both sides should think they are the winners. Fourth method is force and direct. The party which is more stronger, it snubs the other party and enforces their will on them. The other party is not withdrawing, but because the one party is more stronger than the other, so no matter what they want or not, they like it or they don't like it, you are forcing your decision down their throat. This is win for the forcing party and lose for the other party. So again, not a very good solution. The best solution so far is called collaborate or problem solving. In collaborate oblique problem solving, what you are doing is you are incorporating multiple viewpoints and insights from different perspectives. It requires a cooperative attitude from both the sides and an open dialogue that typically leads to consensus and commitment. It is not compromise and reconciliation. This is consensus and commitment. So generally speaking, this is supposed to be the best method. This is supposed to be the win-win method in which both the parties think that they have won. They have gained their point. So these are the basic 5 conflict management strategies. So you must, have a view of them and must understand them, because you may find some of the questions related to that. So this brings us to the end of human resource management. Any questions?
Yes, sir.
If you like, I can continue on with the other two, or we can deal with the stakeholder and communication tomorrow.
As you say, sir.
Okay.
So it's your choice. That's just going fine. Like
We can take
I have a question.
and tomorrow we will cover two areas and then we'll take risk and procurement data.
So can I ask a question?
Yeah, please, sure.
Well, today in most of the previous lectures, we have gone through some points or some headings, you can say, some tools and techniques in which the single point in a tool and technique or single topic that we have covered, there is actually one whole book written on it. For preparation for PMP, what should you suggest? Should we go through the whole of it, or should we just check into the logics of that particular tool, technique, or input? What you say?
Right. You must know every tool and technique at least by name. You must understand that this is a tool and you must understand the basic definition of every tool. But the tools which I am emphasizing, which I am discussing in the class, these are the tools which are more important and which may result in some kind of questions.
Okay.
So if they ask a question about any such tool, you must be prepared that though we have not gone into much of detail in that, but at least you should have a definition of that. You should basically understand. So first of all, go through the glossary of terms in PMB. Okay, so that will give you a fair idea what that term really means. And secondly, all the terms are there in the glossary, and there is nothing which can be skipped. And secondly, if any one of those tools is not clear, any one of those terms is not clear, I invite you to search it openly on Wikipedia or anywhere else. You will find the answer to that, or we can discuss here in the class.
Okay. Just like we have gone through the last point, the related to negotiation.
Related to?
Should we just take negotiations at the last one? Yeah.
This is management.
Perhaps this is just an overlook of it. Just dividing it into the 5, but there is a lot more to it. So should we go there, or should we just stick to it? Should we stick to it?
There is a lot more to it, and a lot more to almost everything which we are studying.
Exactly.
We can't cover
Exactly.
everything in 2 to 3 minutes. Actually, if you
Exactly.
want to talk on just the conflict management, I can give you a lecture for 3 hours. But you see,
Exactly.
that's not possible. Lot many things there.
Exactly. Okay. All right.
Rajiv, if there are no more questions, I think we should call it a day. And tomorrow we are going to focus on 2 topics, and that is communication and stakeholder, because these are 2 areas that are very common to each other. So it will not take a lot of time. We will be able to cover them both tomorrow.
Sir, just quick question before we depart. How do you think should be the sequence of our preparation for the exam? First of all, we read this standard cover to cover.
I think you should. That although we have covered everything in this course, but still that is a good practice that you go through the whole book from cover to cover at least once.
सर
And then
उसके
second
अलावा
time,
जो इसमें नेक्स्चर्स हैं सर पीछे
हाँ जी
खास तौर पर नेक्स्चर 1 जिसमें वो नेक्स्चर A1 कहते हैं, ये कौन सा
जी
उसके अंदर वो भी पूरा का पूरा देखें,
पूरा
पढ़ें उसे भी?
बिल्कुल पूरा.
अच्छा, उसके अलावा सर जो क्वेश्चंस करने के जो मतलब प्रैक्टिस क्वेश्चंस करने हैं
जी
वो सर कितने आप समझते हैं कि किए जाएं, कितने टेस्ट्स किए जाएं, ये जो आपके पीछे जो आर्काइव्स आपने दी हुई है अपने
जी
वेबसाइट की,
Yeah. Basically, keep one set of 200 questions for last day. Just before the exam, one day before, you must attempt a full 4-hour exam on the last night. But before that, you must have done at least 3 such practices. And moreover, the first study, as I said, it would be reading through the PMBOK. Second time, when you set on, really studying each one of these chapters, as soon as you complete a chapter, do some questions for that. And whenever you do questions, please be mindful of the fact that anything you did wrong, you should not just leave it that I'll correct next time. This is not the solution. You have to do the postmortem of your paper, which you have just attempted, whatever you have done wrong, why you have done wrong, and promise with yourself that this specific mistake I will never ever commit again. This is the only method. Otherwise, trust me, you will do that question wrong again because you have not wasted any time on it. You must spend some time understanding what you have done wrong, note those points somewhere, and never to repeat that problem. That is the only way of learning through attempting the questions. So that comes out to be about at least 6 to 800 questions. And my approach would be whatever time you have assigned for your studies, maybe you have already started studying or whatever, the very last week you should dedicate for questions, full exam questions. So those 3 or 4 practices you want to do a full exam should be done in the last week. Remaining other period till from today onwards till 1 week before the exam, you should be studying, clarifying your concepts, doing chapter wise questions, and clarifying them and ensuring that you don't do that mistake. But last week, you are not going to study anything else. You are just going to do the questions, and whichever thing you do wrong, that you will refer back to the book and clear that concept and ensure that you do not commit that mistake again. I can assure you, if you do that, you will be able to pass.
Right, sir.
So I think we should call it a day then. Thank you very much, and see you tomorrow at the same time. Thank you and take care. Dafis.
Thank you so much. Allah Hafiz.